thank you all for listening. Right, first thing before we get into the show was we're looking for a t-shirt design. Now, we're not looking for someone to actually design the t-shirt, but I mean,
just ideas.
Yeah, but if you can, I mean, that'd be great. But now we're just looking for an idea. What you think? Don't break the oath. Conjures up in your mind, and if you can think, if you think of anything interesting, then send it to us. dbtopodcast@gmail.com, or direct message me on Twitter, and that'll be great. Yeah, and also, I know it takes time. I know it takes 2 minutes and everything. Everybody's time and everybody's in a rush. But if you could leave a review on iTunes, it just helps people find a show because iTunes buries a lot of stuff. So yeah, or Stitcher. The main two out in iTunes, Stitcher. But if you do that, let me know. Either email me or Twitter. Get me on Twitter. And just don't break the oath on Twitter. And I'll make sure you get a shout out on the show. And on that note, I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Gibson who emailed us. We're getting into his email on next week's show, but just to say thank you for the email. Right, today we're talking about ice bombs. Okay, so I thought I'd start with a bit of a definition of what they are, in case you're wondering, which I'm sure a lot of people are. Then we'll go on to a few cases. Then we'll go on to a few causes, and then we'll give you our take on what could be going on. So definition then. Essentially, what these ice bombs are big blocks of ice, mostly round in shape, and they vary from different sizes, but generally they're several feet in diameter and at least 1 foot thick or 1 foot wide. So that's a decent chunk of ice. Sometimes they're smelly, which leads into the blue ice theory, which we'll get into later. But smelly. More often than not, they fall in clear skies.
Yeah, this is quite strange.
Which is atypical to what you'd expect from ice, But yeah, blue skies, and then these things fall. Sometimes preceded by thunder, just one clap of thunder. And again, but clear skies. And it's definitely frozen liquid. There's a dozen cases every year. But then obviously you've got they're the ones that are reported. I mean, if you go out tomorrow and see a big block of ice in the street, you're not going to report that to anyone, are you?
No.
And if you live in the middle of nowhere, you've got a ranch or whatever, and there's a big. It's not some. I mean, you don't even report burglaries to the fucking police now because they don't turn up. So you're hardly going to report. This morning I found a 20-foot fucking piece of ice in my garden. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, so there's a dozen or so cases reported each year, but obviously it could be a lot more than that. And then you've got to think about the ones that land in the sea.
Yeah.
And and just where people don't live. So that's a definition. You got anything to add to that?
Well, I've got. I was to say you was been talking about this for a couple of days, and I've been doing a little bit of research into it, and it's quite amazed me because I basically thought, well, it's just weather conditions, atmospheric conditions, isn't it?
We'll get into causes.
Well, then when I've been looking at some cases, it's not logic because most of them are blue skies and nice day, and all of a sudden, they must have formed somehow to come from the sky.
Well, this is the thing.
I've also got not just ice bombs. I've also got they call them ice spears as well, which are lethal.
Right.
And I've got a few cases here which have been hit quite a few people.
Well, I'll start with this case, and then
I'll give you a few of mine.
The elephant one,
and then it's up to the listeners to think. Well,
so this goes way back. I mean, what was this? Like 170 years ago. This guy, this astronomer called Carmile Flammarion, I'm guessing he's French, but he was looking into this 170 years ago now. And this is the same time when scientists had only just started accepting that meteorites were lumps of rock from space, which seems obvious to us now, doesn't it? I mean, I was working on a building site once, and we just gravelled this what was going to be a car park. So we just levelled it and gravelled it with like a limestone gravel, so it was pure white. Left it, come back in the morning. It was first thing in the morning. It was dark, but when we went back to the car to get our butty, our butty box and that for our breakfast, we noticed that there was something black on the pristine white. I mean, this car park was 200 yards long by 300 yards wide, big car park, Kanoko, yeah. So we noticed something black in the middle of it. Oh, what the fuck's that? So walked out on there, and it was these two black rocks just laid in the thingy, and picked them up. It was heavy, and straight away I thought this must be a meteor. Yeah. But so I put them to the side. There was like an old fridge or something had been discarded just to the side of the car park. So I just put them on there, and I thought, I'll take a moment, home time. Anyway, went back at the end of the day, and it was gone.
Yeah.
So someone must have seen me put them there or whatever. But obviously, to me, that was obvious what that was. But in 170 years ago, I mean, a piece of rock just appearing from nowhere. Do you know what they used to think it was? Right? They used to think this is how crazy it is. But it makes sense in a way. Yeah. When they used to see these rocks just appearing from nowhere, they used to think what had caused it was a lightning strike. Had hit the ground and unearthed the rock. So the rock was already there, but the lightning strike just unearthed it.
Well, then that don't make sense, because then if your lightning hit the ground, there'd be a kind of a big mark, a big.
You'd think so.
You know what I mean? But as you said, if it's leveled up and just these two rocks there,
that was the way they used to think 170 years ago.
Yeah.
So like this guy was looking into these. So obviously he's not going to get this.
Yeah.
Taken seriously, but he was looking into this at the same time. They was thinking lightning was hitting the fucking ground and unearthing rocks. So he looked into a few cases. This one, and some of his cases, one of them was 15 foot long and 11 foot thick. So again, it's not hailstone.
No.
I mean, there is big hailstone. I've seen hailstone, the size of.
Yeah, I've seen it on television. Where the tornado alley, where the tornadoes start, you can hear really big ice balls falling. You know what I mean? But none of what we've been looking into, is it really?
Well, I've got my favourite case, if you like, is this one. It was in the Ord in Scotland, and like I say, this is my favourite now. I'll tell you why when we get into our take on it later. But essentially, this one was a 20-foot across piece of ice which landed, preceded by a loud clap of thunder, and landed on this estate somewhere in Scotland. And I think it was weighed at about half a ton, so it's a decent chunk of ice. And I'll get into what I think that might be later. So what you don't have to talk about?
I'm going to do a little bit here. What I researched and looked into it. This is quite, this is just a little bit of. There was one in Portugal. It was a piece of ice weighing 20 kilograms. It rammed into a house, and then the 20 kilograms. This is. One of it is in Florida. It smashed a car to bits. In India, it killed an elephant flat out. Straight up bang. In Germany, this is in Dusseldorf. This one saying earlier about an ice spear, 2 meters length. It actually went through a person. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The heaviest.
That was 1951, 10th of January. That was, and it was a carpenter. He was on a roof working. And he was found up there, skewered by this, what they called like an icicle spear, essentially. But it measured 6 foot long when they actually found him.
See, the heaviest of the registered ice blocks weighed 35 kilograms, and it was in Palestine, a Palestinian village. It's like, hang on a minute.
Well, this half ton one must not have been officially weighed, but obviously if it's 20 foot long, and it's got to weigh a bit in it.
But the phenomenon was several times observed in Russia as well, although this is a long time ago. This is in 1984 and 1986. The most recent ice bombings were reported in 2009 in Spain, Italy, and of course USA. I thought I've been looking into this as well, and I'm thinking, are these ice bombs maybe from airplanes? The toilets, where people,
Well, we'll get on
but then.
We'll get on to causes in a minute. There aren't many cases of people being killed by these, but
must be near misses.
Again, if someone gets hit by one of these and no one's there to see it, and the ice melts, then someone's just found dead and they don't know why.
But if someone gets hit by lightning, you hear about it, don't you?
Oh,
you hear about
but
it.
There's evidence, isn't there?
Yeah.
But if an ice block hits you, then that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if that melts before anyone finds you, then there's no evidence, essentially. But there was, you've got an elephant killed. I've got a sheep killed as well. I'd love to see a photo with that elephant. I'd love to see a photo of this sheep.
Yeah,
this was in Exmoor, which is West England.
Yeah.
And this was November 1950.
In Exmoor. I actually trekked Exmoor.
Yeah, and obviously this sheep was killed by a block of ice. I'm guessing that someone noticed the ice there to make the leap like it was the ice that killed it. But Yeah.
It's to say about
But
that.
I'm just wondering, because there is, if you Google it, you'll find loads of pictures of people's cars and houses that have been hit by these blocks of ice. And I'm wondering if that's even covered in your house insurance. I guess it will be.
Yeah, I say.
I mean, they try and get away with acts of God, but they can't really.
Not really. No, well, insurance will try and get away with anything,
Yeah.
mate. I said if an ice block crosses a plane's path at the speed of 100 meters per second, it will instantly destroy the jet. He said this might have happened for the reason of the Airbus, the A330-200 crash, although it still remains a secret because the black box of the plane recorded only the icing of the speed sensor. Perhaps it was the first sign of the imminent tragedy. So did this,
Well, yeah.
take out the plane?
If there's lumps of ice, well, this is again,
It's
Well, we'll get into the causes now, I guess, because that was one of the that's what they initially thought these were. They thought there was like fields of ice, like just floating in the sky.
Yeah.
But
I've got my theories later on. Well, I think it could be these.
Yeah, once we got into aviation, big style, then obviously that was ruled out because we'd be flying into them all the time, and that just doesn't happen. Although you do see quite a lot of, plane damage. Like you'll see the front of a plane just caved in, and they say they hit birds or. I mean, come on.
I mean, these planes are a fantastic height.
Yeah, there's
way
got to be
above
something,
the clouds and everything else.
And again, unless these massive hailstones, that's what I call them, defy gravity, then they shouldn't really be there.
To me, they can't go over the clouds. Well, they come from the clouds down.
Well, one of the theories, obviously, it could come from space. And they call them mega cryo meteors. Which basically just means giant block for ice. And we're not talking. See, again, when these have been tested on the ground, they are just liquid. There's no rock content. And actually, we'll get into our testing in a minute.
Yeah, I've got some about the testing.
Blocks of ice from space. Okay, yeah, sounds reasonable. And you think it'd have to be a decent size for it to withstand re-entry, burn up.
Yeah, of course it would.
So you're talking about a massive block of ice. But the problem with that is, a block that size would be picked up on radar.
Yeah.
Coming in, and we just don't have that evidence. It's just not picked up. So they're not massive blocks of ice.
I can't see ice surviving anything from the burner.
These look like they're coming. These look like they are the size that they are when they hit the ground is what the size they are when they.
Unless the rock being burnt out through the atmosphere, and then end up what's left inside the rock is ice. I can't see ice being a big, huge, big block being. It'll just be.
Yeah, but even that would be picked up on radar.
I can't see ice coming from space and then going through the atmosphere, and it'd just burn up completely.
Without being picked on radar, it's impossible. Absolutely impossible. So then we get on to the second cause. Is obviously the blue ice, which you was talking about earlier. Now it's called blue ice because in the I say olden days, but it wasn't that long ago. When you used to go on a plane, you used to, have a shit or a piss, and you used to get this blue liquid that would wash it down, like this disinfectant liquid. Well, obviously, that sometimes leaked onto the outside of the plane and froze, and then eventually it got too big and it dropped off.
Yep.
And I think it was on an episode of 6 Feet Under where someone was killed in that by a block of this blue ice hitting them. But that's why they called it blue ice. And again, a lot of reports of these say that they are smelly.
Yeah, that's what scientists pick up.
So this is why we got the blue, but that doesn't happen anymore. If you go on a modern plane, it's a vacuum. Yeah. It's no blue. There's no blue liquid, and obviously the plane stores the bodily fluids until it lands and it's pumped out, and that's what trains don't have the luxury of that. If you flush a chain on a train,
it just go on the track.
So you get that, don't you? In fucking Grimsby Town Station, it says it's a big sticker on the thing, and don't flush if you're not in the station. But some twat, every time you stood on that station, there's a fucking turd in there, laying right in the middle with fucking that tracing paper bog roll wrapped around it.
Yeah.
Fucking stinking because someone's pressed the button on the station.
Oh.
But
you've got to go, isn't it, really? Is it, really?
Well,
You're supposed to leave it in there, are you, really? But anyway,
But
I've been on trains many times and not very nice. The toilets stink anyway, you don't want to go in their toilets.
Toilet I went down, I just sat down, the door flew open.
Yeah, hello.
So,
that's not very nice places, mate.
That was unlucky for someone. But, so we get onto the blue ice. So again, faulty flush and all the rest of it. I mean, there was a case in 1992 in France which was traced back to a faulty flush. And again, it was blue ice that fell from a plane, but we know it was blue ice that fell from a plane because I looked at it and it was blue and all the rest of it. So these other ones aren't from planes. And a lot of these go back way before aviation. So so planes have to be ruled out as a principal reason, I guess. Now, they talk about build-up of ice on planes. And again, a lot of planes are fitted now with the ice and stuff, so that doesn't happen. But, a chunk of fucking ice, 20 foot long or 15 foot long or whatever, some of these are coming in at, a 20-foot chunk of ice on a plane is gonna do damage to the plane.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not gonna fly with that on its wing.
No,
So, I mean, that was one of the principal reasons of actually the blue liquid that they used to flush the toilet with. They actually took that out of planes because it was weighing too much.
Yeah.
So a big chunk of ice on the wing, is just not going to happen. So it's not. I mean, not to say that ice won't build up and then fly off wings. I guess it would, but not to come all the way down in big sheets.
No, I can't see that. I can't see that.
No, I don't see that. And then we move into the gravity-defying hailstone. I'm not even going to go into that. No. It's just not.
No,
I mean,
it's not feasible.
That's the equivalent of a tornado. What they try and say is that in the stratosphere, whatever, this ice is accumulated. Like in a whale in motion, it accumulates till it builds up into a big. But I mean, again, it's got to be gravity defying for it to do this, and then eventually it goes up into. And this would explain why a lot of them are round, I guess. But again, it picks up enough ice and then it drops to the ground. Again, like I say, there has to be a serious whirlwind up there. I mean, it's possible, isn't it? It could have a tornado in the sky that no one saw.
Oh, I don't know.
But on the same token, there's no bonding agent in this, so it's just ice. So it'd be the same as a tornado going through and then leaving a trail of bricks behind it. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't happen. I mean, the tornado picks up loads of dust and rocks and all the rest of it.
I've seen it picks up tractors and everything else, cows and all go in the air, and
it doesn't mash them together into fucking
no,
bricks.
it just picks it up and then it'll drop them again.
But that's what they're trying to say. It'd mash it together into bricks and just leave bricks as you're just going along. There'd be a fucking load of trail of bricks where you could see it gone there. It just didn't happen like that. So you just have to say that. I mean, there was a case in 57. It was July 30th, 1957, when 2 blocks of ice fell from the sky, and this was in Pennsylvania, and they actually fell to earth, and witnesses said they made a whooshing noise as they came down, which they would do because there's decent blocks like. And this went on to prove the hailstone theory wrong, basically, because meteorologists were given samples of this, and on the ground this was like a milky white substance. And when they did tests on them, they found that they were pressed together, basically blocks of ice, tiny balls of ice pressed together into a big block. But the problem was that the water that was used to make the ice in the first place was not found either on the ground or in the air. This was not water from this place, if you like. So it had no nitrates in it, which is obviously unusual, and then it had also an unusual level of alkaline salts in it, which went on to the guy from the where was it, Harrison? He was the chief of the weather centre, and whose name was Paul Sutton, and he had to insist that these could not have been formed by any natural process known to meteorology at the time. So, and I guess that's still true now.
Yeah,
because with the lack of,
I think a lot of stuff has been kept from us. It always has been,
Well, that gets us on to. I mean, that's essentially all the causes. So that's the causes. So I guess that moves us on to the to our take. What do you think? I mean, some of these could be, abnormally sized hailstones.
No, but you need, as I said to you earlier, you need perfect weather conditions for hailstone and all anything else. But it's not, I've seen some cases in here and it's been a perfect blue sky. So where these things come from, and they're not like come down, it's a couple, 2 or 3 here, bang, bang, that's it. You don't have a huge shower.
No, well, this is the
thing.
Just a lot of them, preceded by this loud clap of thunder as well. And obviously, when you hear a bang in the sky, the first thing you think, I mean, occasionally it happens here, and I'm presuming it's some sort of sonic boom. You hear a bang, and then nothing, and it's like, and everyone's like on Facebook and all the rest of it saying, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah.
And I've seen some of them that happen in Grimsby that have been aired right to Hull at the same time. You know, people are there at that sort of distance. So I don't know what it is. It's some sort of sonic boom. And there's loads of fucking strange craft around here all the time that test. So it could be military. But this loud clap of thunder. So is that some sort of sonic boom? And that gets onto my theory. Do you have a theory for what these are? Because if not, I'll go into.
Well, I mean, I don't know. A couple. Mine is obviously. I don't think they're man-made. I don't think the atmosphere made. I think maybe the possible. There could be weapons, some kind of something built, a weapon system or something. You know, because it's not. You know, you have to run the right atmospheric pressures to make the storm and that. But
so obviously nowadays people would refer back to HAARP or something like that.
Possible HAARP,
causing.
But HAARP is man-made. They have. I know HAARP exists and it's been going on for many years now.
Well, is that is HAARP altering? You know, to make these blocks of. I mean, is it a byproduct of whatever they're doing that's causing these?
I mean, it could be
not
possible.
necessarily going out to make them. They're just.
I think maybe it possibly could.
But then that doesn't explain how they go right back 170 years and.
That's what I'm saying.
That, so,
you know,
unless HAARP's been around longer than we think, pre-civilization.
But obviously, we know the HAARP is. They have got technology to alter the weather conditions. That's.
Well, shall I? You know, I'll give you what I think's going on, and again, I should put a warning in here. You know what I mean? Like. I don't know, like warning, speculation.
Speculation. You know? Hey, everybody speculates. I mean, I've got my speculation, but mine's kind of lunatic.
This obviously is speculation, and I'll give you an experiment. Okay, so anyone can do this at home. Okay, so if you get a coaster, a tea coaster, and you get a biscuit, or if you're in the States, a cookie. Okay, so you get a coaster. You get a coaster. You put your biscuit or your cookie on top, and then you hold it in your hand, and you move the coaster left or right. What happens to the cookie? You know, it doesn't stay on the coaster, it drops to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, this is an experiment you can carry out at home and film yourselves doing it and and post it on Twitter. But yeah, so you get your biscuit and you put it on there, you move that. This is what I think's happening. I think we could be looking at a case where we've got a UFO. And I'm using that in the literal sense. You know, I'm not saying it's an alien, and I'm not saying it could be ours. But let's just say we've got a UFO, which generally are disc-shaped, okay? And a lot of these ice, with a 20-metre one in Scotland, was a disc, basically a flat disc. So what if this UFO's just been parked there, and, snow or whatever's fell on it, or it's just built up on top because there's moisture on top? As it moves away, and that's where you're getting this sonic boom as well. Now, a lot of UFOs don't cause sonic booms. The one I did flew off. I mean, it didn't go sonic boom speed, but it moved off pretty quick. But there's no sonic boom. But let's just say that this UFO, maybe it was an early UFOs. Maybe don't get them so much now. Maybe they've upgraded the class of ship. We definitely have.
Yeah, we have.
So if this snow and shit builds up on top, this ice, this moves away, then the ice could fall. But again, you've got the problem with the ones without the water that's found on Earth. Obviously, that's still a problem with that theory. Now, the other theory is obviously that maybe this could be waste from these craft. Because
well, I mean, I know that. Well, we know that our government and people have been back engineering UFOs for years. Like Roswell is actually.
Well, what if
Roswell is one
UFOs are seen.
So they'll be back in engineering all this technology. So they've used it for but who's saying that they haven't got it perfect? They haven't got that technology perfect. They've got it. They've got a few glitches.
Let's just say that.
So it's experiments.
UFOs are generally seen around water, say, and obviously these ice are liquid. So, and this one's saying there's no nitrates in that. What if it was taken into the craft? The nitrates extracted, and then what was left behind, what they didn't want, that's what's being dumped to the air. And obviously, if they're doing this at high altitude and it's falling, and freezing on the way down, and that's what you're getting hitting the ground. And obviously, preceded by this clap of thunder is the craft moving off. Again, speculation, but I'm struggling to find a a natural explanation for this one.
I can't say an actual one. I know the obviously I've talked to my shows before about the Deviant Kingdom and how weather moves, and you've got these these forces put around the Earth. All this the weather divas, they cause all this weather pressures and all that. So I don't think it's anything with them, because they don't want to kill anything or hit anything. But possibly you could be right where these craft are being back engineered. And doing kind of test flights on it, and doing this, and it's causing some, atmospheric change when they're going past supersonic. You know what I mean? It could be causing something, drawing some pressure out and then causing something else. Possible.
I suppose another theory, just off the top of my head, could be like these. A lot of people speculate that these UFOs travel via some sort of wormhole system, some sort of.
Well, we've seen. I've seen two on YouTube. I mean, it's what you believe on YouTube. I mean, you've got to really.
Exactly. But
what's crap and what you've got to say. That's something,
They're coming through these wormholes, and this is coming through with them.
Yeah. We'll never know. I mean, they kind of tell you, well, this ice ball hit you here, but nobody's seen a wormhole open and then stuff comes down.
No.
It hasn't been seen, has it? No. So, if it has, they've kept them quiet about it. But I've seen a few wormholes on YouTube, and it was pretty weird shit.
Yeah, but then there could be Operation Bluebeam as well.
That's it, Bluebeam again. But I think Operation Bluebeam, what I saw on there, that's not a wormhole. I think that's HARP. I think that's got something to happen. I think they've been tweaking here, tweaking here. See if we do this, what'll happen, and do this and do that. Bollocks for the consequences. But definitely not. I can't. I mean, I was dubious really when we can do this about this show, because I thought, weather conditions. But when you get these ice balls and these spears coming down, it's a beautiful sunny day. That's not logic.
No.
It's done that.
I'd be interested to see what listeners have got to say for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on YouTube now and put ice bombs in there or something like that, you might get like some pictures of hailstones and like what are ice bombs, small ones, whatever, or whatever. But the only time I've seen a lot of bad small ones is actually when you go down, let's say, check out Tornado Alley, when the tornadoes come, it goes really dark, and something's going to come, the thunder's coming, and then it gets hailstoning. And sometimes the windscreen goes through because of that,
Oh yeah, you get golf ball size.
Absolutely.
But these are
huge.
Well out of the
these are well
range
huge.
Of them. It's like we get them and we don't get anything in between. We get them and this. And it's like, so it's obviously not the same phenomenon.
No, it's not. It's completely different.
But yeah, if there's anyone out there that's got a different theory on it, then let us know. dbtopodcast@gmail.com. But ice bombs,
ice spears as well. So have you got any take on these ice spears as well? Because they're
And don't forget about the T-shirt design. And please leave a review. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No break.